All right, good afternoon, happy game day, and all the rest of it to you, Mizzou fans. I am Gabe DeArmond. This is the Burgers Smokehouse at home tailgate. We are going to get you set over the next hour and a half for Mizzou and Kentucky, kicking off at 3 p.m. I believe that game is on SEC alternate. Honestly, I forgot to look it up. I'll find it at some point before 3 o'clock. But as we do every week here before Missouri's kickoff for about 90 minutes, we're going to have some interviews. We're going to have some analysis, thoughts on the game. We're going to take your comments, your questions, all of that. Just kind of hang out with you guys leading up to the game. About 2:25, we will check in with Mitchell Forty, who is over at Furrow Field. As I try to figure out the camera, there we go. He is, or will shortly be, over at Furrow Field. He will be covering Mizzou and Kentucky in person for you guys. He'll keep you up to date on the message boards, all that. I will be here with you live all day long, hour and a half on this pregame show. Then at kickoff, we will come back with our live game watch along, take a quick break, and attend Eli Drinkwitz's press conference. And attend, I say. We will call it up on Zoom and record that, and then come back for the post-game show, and we will take your calls about this one until whenever it is. We've had odd game times this year. We've had night games where the post-game started at 11:30. We've had morning games where everything was done by 6 o'clock, and now kind of an afternoon game, 3 o'clock kick. Should wrap up 6:30. Post-game show probably start around 7, and we'll go till whenever you guys are done. So first of all, before we get into it, want to thank Burgers Smokehouse. They are the official smokehouse of Mizzou Athletics and also of this show every day, every Saturday that we do it this year. Actually had some of their pulled pork for lunch today. They've got that. They've got brisket. They've got dry cured bacon, country cured ham, pork ribs, all kinds of good stuff. It's real easy. They send it to you. It's already cooked. You heat it up. Took 6 minutes. Heat it up. Throw it on a bun with some red onions. Made a great sandwich for lunch. You can get that at Deerberg's, Schnucks, Price Chopper, Woods, CNR, Hy-Vee, Gerbs, Walmart, and probably some other places throughout Missouri. It is a third and fourth generation family-owned and managed business located in California, Missouri. Again, Burgers Smokehouse. You can check them out at smokehouse.com. And they have sponsored this show every Saturday and will continue to do so the rest of the season and hopefully well beyond. So thank you guys for joining us every Saturday. I'm sure it's a lot of the same people. Hopefully we're getting some new faces in here. And again, feel free to hit the comment button. We will get to those throughout the show. The story, obviously, is that Missouri hasn't beaten Kentucky since Matty Mock threw 4 touchdown passes to Dorial Green Beckham 6 years ago in Lexington. I think that game was in Lexington. Could have been in Columbia, but I'm pretty sure that one was in Lexington. I think I was there. And, since then, Missouri has found all kinds of ways to lose this matchup. They've gotten blown out. They've lost kind of close games. They've gotten robbed by the refs. It's every way Missouri has been able to find to lose this game. They've lost it. It opened at Kentucky minus 5.5 today, or earlier this week, which was the most competitive line in the Southeastern Conference when the day began. There's only 4 games. And that line since has come down to Kentucky minus 4. So the money that has come in during the week is coming in on Missouri, although Mizzou is still favored in Kentucky is still favored. And Rob points out, he's right, I misspoke. Mizzou won that game in 2014. So, Mizzou beat Kentucky in 2014, 6 years ago, which I guess means that would have been in Columbia. That was Matty Mock was the starting quarterback. Then 2015 was actually Matty Mock's last game at Missouri, as it turned out. Missouri lost 21-14. He got suspended shortly thereafter. Drew Lock started the next week against South Carolina, and off it went. Missouri does not have a player or a coach who has ever beaten Kentucky. They do have a player who has beaten Missouri. Punter Grant Mcinnis is a graduate transfer from Kentucky. He's 4-0 against Mizzou in his career, now on this side of the matchup. So that's kind of an interesting dynamic. We talked to Mcinnis on the 573 report earlier this week. We're going to get to some other interviews throughout this show. We're going to talk to Barrett Bannister in just a few minutes. We always talk to defensive coordinator Ryan Walters about how to stop the opponent this week. And then we're also going to check in with Jeff Drummond from CatsIllustrated.com. That's our Kentucky side on the Rivals Network, and Jeff does a good job covering them. Shout out to Justin being here. Has to be our year, right? I mean, look, you would think at some point this thing's got to end, right? Because Kentucky is not vastly superior to Missouri. But at this point, Kentucky has passed Missouri. It has also passed South Carolina and Tennessee. It's the third best program in this division right now. And everybody else's goal is to catch Kentucky. I've said this a few times this week, so I'm not going to belabor the point. But if you're in Missouri's position, right now, you're not worrying about catching Georgia and Florida. The first thing you've got to do is pass South Carolina, catch Kentucky. Do that, establish yourself as number 3 in the division, and then maybe catch up to Georgia and Florida over the next few years. TGZ Ace asked one of my favorite questions. Percent chances Mizzou wins? 50. They either will or they won't. But seriously, I mean, I don't know. I guess Kentucky's favored by 4. That seems fair to me. I picked Kentucky 23-20. It won't surprise me if Missouri wins. It'll be a very minor upset, I would say. It'll be an upset. Kentucky's a little bit better team. But look, they lost to Auburn and Ole Miss this year to start the year. Started 0-2. If you want to go transitive property, Kentucky beat Tennessee 34-7. Tennessee beat Missouri 35-12. So I guess that means that Kentucky is going to beat Missouri by like 59 points. I don't expect that to happen. Both teams obviously coming off good performances. Kentucky last week, again, beat Tennessee 34-7. Missouri beat LSU 45-41 2 weeks ago. In the way this season is lining up, Missouri originally was supposed to be playing in Gainesville, Florida today. That is not happening. They're playing in Columbia against Kentucky. They hope to be in Gainesville next Saturday evening. As of now, that game we expect to happen, but we'll see. Florida's still dealing with all sorts of COVID outbreaks and all that. Look, we mentioned Kentucky right now is the number 3 program in the SEC East. Interesting note about this. Mark Stoops, if he wins this game today, will be over 500 for the first time in his Kentucky career. I believe he's in year 7. That kind of tells you what he took over. I believe they were 2-10 his first 2 years, so 4-20 after 2 seasons, which means over the last 4.5 years, they've been 16 games over 500. Solid program. They peaked a couple years ago at 10-3. Had a solid 8-win season last year despite all kinds of injuries. We'll get more into the numbers and the matchups and all that as we go along. But the thumbnail sketch is this. Kentucky runs the ball pretty well. They don't throw it all that often. I don't want to say they don't throw it well. They just don't throw it all that often. They lead the country in takeaways, and they try to beat you in a low-scoring game. Kentucky doesn't really want games to get into the 30s and 40s. They lost a 42-41 shootout to Ole Miss a couple weeks ago. They're capable of scoring that much in the right situation, but they would prefer to have a 21-17 type game. Grind the clock, get a lead, and just kind of suffocate you. The first quarter in this game is huge. Missouri gets up 14-0. They might put Kentucky in a situation where they make Terry Wilson throw the football. I'm peeking over here at Auburn and Ole Miss right now, which is tied at 21 in the fourth quarter. But if you can get up 14-0 on Kentucky, get them out of their game plan a little bit, that helps you. Flip side, you get down 14-0 to Kentucky, and they might not throw another pass all day. They're just going to bleed that clock all day long. So that's not what you want to get into. Justin, again, hey, pregame meal, yeah. Look, we're here for a conversation, guys. Let us know what you're doing, what you're drinking, what you're eating, how you're getting ready for this game, what you're doing, all that. That's kind of why we're here. It's not just going to be me talking at you for an hour and a half. So hit the like button, throw up a comment, all that. Justin's got some ribs on the grill. I mentioned I had some Burgers Smokehouse pulled pork earlier today. We will have later on probably a little snack right before the game starts. Maybe a boulevard or two. Might have done some shopping this morning in the post-game show. So hope you guys are here for all of it again. We're going to be here with you as long as you guys want to be. I'm guessing, 8, 9 o'clock tonight, probably by the time we wrap everything up with the post-game show. But mention throughout the pregame, we like to let you guys kind of hear from some of the people involved. It's not me just talking at you for an hour and a half. That hurts my throat, and it's boring as hell for you guys. So the first interview we're going to play here, we talked to Missouri wide receiver Barrett Bannister earlier this week, and Barrett was part of a group that, a ragtag group of receivers, second stringers, walk-ons, just guys we didn't expect, that lit up the LSU Tigers 2 weeks ago. Those guys are probably going to get a little bit more playing time. Damon Hazelton's back, but he's third on the depth chart. Kiki Chisholm's back, but we're not sure he's a starter. Jalen Knox, we think he's probably going to start because he played well in that LSU game, and he's started every game so far. But Barrett Bannister and a bunch of other guys getting a little more playing time. So I want to let you hear from a walk-on who has done very good things here at Mizzou so far.
Hey, Barrett, how did you feel like, I guess, individually and then also as an offense, things improved over the week? Coach mentioned that he kind of challenged everybody to have one thing to get better at. And how do you feel like the offense improved over the bye?
I think it was a good week for us. Came at an unexpected time, but I think we took a good benefit out of it. We had 3 physical games. It was good for us to get healthy. And, I think all of us in the room, there's stuff that you can work on, and I think everybody kind of attacked that and went at it with a mentality of improving every day. And so I think that we did a very good job, and, we're excited to get back at it this week.
Next up is Colin O'Brien from Jeff City. Go ahead, Colin.
Hey, Barrett. Coach told us last week that he thought because, Connor got so much reps with the twos during the offseason and working into this season, that there was no drop-off and no lack of confidence going out there with the twos starting wide receiver against LSU. You think that was the case as well?
Yeah, I think it goes all the way back to just in our preparation throughout the summer and everything, just, everybody working and everybody getting reps with everyone, You never know who's going to be the guy. And, Connor stepped up for us, and a lot of guys made a lot of plays. It was good to see everyone out there working together.
Mitch 40, Parmesan. Go ahead, Mitch.
Hey, Barrett. One of the guys after that LSU game, I think maybe it was Towski, said that you're kind of a vocal leader at times among the receiving group. I'm curious, in a game like that where you have several different guys making their first start or catching their first touchdown or their first pass, what was your message leading up to it during the game?
I think the first thing is to just trust your training. You can't go out there and do something that you haven't prepped yourself to do. That's the whole reason you practice and prepare for 9 months to play 3. So, that was my first message to him, was just go out there and trust your training. And, after that, it's just stay focused on each and every play. It was a slugfest out there. And so you got to just keep pounding away, keep chopping wood, and, keep doing that, and good things happen. So obviously I think they responded well. They played a heck of a game, and, it's not a credit to me, it's a credit to them. They're the guys out there that did it.
Next up, Dave Matter. Go ahead, Dave.
Barrett, for guys like you who have been around this program for a while, just how much is a losing streak to Kentucky kind of nagging at you guys? How important is this game? Because nobody on this team has experienced a win over them.
It's definitely something that we need to fix. And, when Coach Shrink asks everyone if they've beaten Kentucky and you see no hands go up, it's kind of a tough feeling to swallow, And so, we got to go out there and we got to prepare. They're a good football team. They've played very, very well these last 2 weeks. And, we played them close the last couple of years. It's time for us to get one.
Peter Ball from The Athletic. Go ahead, Peter.
Hi, Barrett. I guess in the past, last year specifically, in one possession games, the team really struggled. How important was it for you guys, I guess mentally this year, to pull out a close game last week against LSU?
I think it was awesome to see, and I think it was good to see it all throughout the second half, if that makes sense. Each time either the offense was down or the defense was down, and we just kept making plays, kept picking each other up, and I thought it was awesome, the defense making that goal line stand. I'm not surprised by it. They've trained and prepped for that. And, that's been something of emphasis. It's just always competing and, just finishing in the fourth quarter. And so I'm extremely proud of them. It was good for us to get that win, but we got a big one this week.
Yeah. How do you kind of, I guess, build off a close win like that going into this week?
I think it obviously helps to have that experience of winning that game. You got new freshmen and transfers and stuff coming in, and you pull out a big close win like that, that's the expectation. That's the experience you pull from, instead of, wow, we didn't pull that one out, wonder what's going to happen. You pull from past experiences and everything you do. So it was good for us to get that.
Thanks.
Soichi Terada, Kansas City Star, go ahead.
Hey, Barrett, we heard from Drink a lot the past couple of weeks, just valuing the ball. How much have you guys just emphasized, limiting turnovers and all those fumbles and everything?
I think that's something that's really been brought to the table. It's been from the shrink staff to on the field prep with just ball security and the importance of it. We got to quit putting the ball on the ground. We were fortunate to get a win against LSU with how many turnovers we had. And then obviously Kentucky's, I think, had 9 turnovers in the last 2 games. They generate turnovers, and it's a big key to victory when you look at things in football. So we got to take that into factor.
Kyle Pinnell, Maneater, go ahead, Kyle.
Hey, Barrett, you kind of just touched on it with the 9 turnovers, but you're also going against the Kentucky defense that's allowed 9 points over the last 2 games. And as an offense, what do you guys need to do to kind of create movement and get some momentum to create a drive against a defense like Kentucky's?
I think it's just focusing on the details and trusting that our system and our coaches, that they've put together a good game plan for us. We just got to go out there and execute what we practice. And, I think that's the biggest thing for us. They're a heck of a defense. Got a great challenge ahead of us.
Max Baker, Missourian.
Hey, Barrett, I feel like a couple receivers mentioned last week about Connor that, he's not much of a talker. He just throws the ball. And I was wondering, is that a big contrast from Kelly and Drew? And, what makes him effective if he's not able to, if he doesn't talk as much as they do?
I think, he's definitely quiet, and that's a trait of his, but I just don't think he's as I'm trying to think of the word. He doesn't express his emotion. He doesn't wear his emotions on his sleeve as much. You'll hear him on the sidelines, and he's talking, communicating with us. He's communicating on the field, but it may just not be as expressed loudly, if that makes sense. But he's a great leader for us, and we're excited to go to war with him every weekend.
Mitch 40, back to you, Mitch.
Barrett, I know there were, some drops in the first 2 weeks, and then that was kind of cleaned up against LSU. I'm curious, what did the staff maybe say or do to emphasize the importance of securing the catch?
I think it's a lot of, catching's a lot of it, just mentality. And so I think a lot of it was just, once again, realizing the importance of the ball and how those drops can affect drives. And, I think it was just emphasizing the importance of taking eyes to the tuck, and I think everybody just kind of bought into it, and it paid dividends for us against LSU.
Okay, we got 4 in the queue right now. We're going to finish with these 4, roll through it here. Bennett Durando, you're up.
Hey, what's up, Barrett? You mentioned a minute ago that Coach Drinkwitz sort of, called that out and said, who in the room has beaten Kentucky before, the raise your hand sort of thing. Could you sort of describe what that team meeting was and what that team was? And also, I know you guys have got you've got a punter who was on that Kentucky team a couple of years ago. Did Coach Drinkwitz single him out at all as being a Kentucky guy, or have there been any remarks about that?
No, not really referring to Grant. I think everyone knows kind of where he came from, but I don't think there's any doubts about where his allegiance is. And, I think Grant's going to go out and do what he's done these first 3 weeks, and he's going to punt the ball great for us and do a great job holding. That team meeting, I think it was just, I think more of anything, it was just an eye opener. A lot of freshmen and maybe transfers and maybe even coaches. It's a new staff. No, they don't know that we haven't had great success with Kentucky over the past couple of years. And so I think it was an eye opener and just kind of a motivation thing for us.
Colin O'Brien, go ahead.
Barrett, for a guy that has as little college experience as Connor does, just apart from game plan, what can the receivers do to make things as easy as possible for him Saturday against a really good defense? I think from the receiver position, the first thing that we can do is get him yards whenever, we're running the ball. It makes things easier whenever it's, 2nd and 5 instead of 2nd and 8, whenever a guy that we're supposed to go make a block. That helps. That gets you in more favorable odds and stuff whenever it comes to calling plays. So I think that's the first thing that we can do, is take care of our job on the perimeter. And then, also is too, just making the plays that we're supposed to make, catching passes that are even for 8 yards and for a first down. It moves the change. It gives the quarterback confidence, and, it can open up bigger plays. I heard Drinkwitz say the first time I'd ever heard this phrase after the LSU game was push crack. And I guess that's just a downfield block by the receiver. But was that an area of the game you guys emphasized improving against LSU that you maybe hadn't done the first 2 games, those receiver blockings downfield?
I mean, yes and no. A lot of that's dependent on like the defense they're running. And so it's just kind of who's the run fit and going and making plays off that.
Peter Ball, The Athletic.
Yeah, you talked about Kentucky's 9 forced turnovers, and I'm pretty sure all of them were on interceptions. As receivers, like what specifically can you guys do to, I know the quarterback throws the ball, but what can you guys do to limit interceptions as receivers?
Be in the right spot and catch the ball. I mean, it's kind of a vague answer, I guess, but you gotta be in the details. Quarterback's gotta be on the same page as you. Obviously it's his job to read coverage and make the throw, but whenever we're in the right spot and we catch the ball for him, it helps a lot. We got to go make contested catches. We can't let tight coverage be something that's enabling us.
And we'll finish up with Gabe DeArmond. Go ahead, Gabe.
Yeah, Barrett, simple question about something that's obviously not simple to do. Can you describe to fans and people that haven't done it the difficulty in fielding a punt and just, tracking that ball coming down from 30, 40 yards in the air, whatever it is? Obviously it's been an issue through the first couple games.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm a victim of that as well. It's a tough deal. It's just kind of a lot of it's instinct, it's like reading a fly ball in baseball. But it's something that we got to get cleaned up and it's inexcusable. And so, a lot of it's dependent on conditions. If it's a windy day, it's tougher and, but it's something we got to get cleaned up and it's myself included in that.
All right, that is Mizzou wide receiver Barrett Bannister. Obviously, the Mizzou receivers, the Mizzou passing game, really interesting matchup today. Kentucky is second in the country in interceptions. They have picked off 9 passes this season. They've returned 3 of them for touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. So the skeptic on Kentucky will say that's not a sustainable way to win. You're not going to get 3 picks and 2 pick sixes every game and all that. And obviously that's true. The question really is how much of them taking that ball away has been their scheme, their talent, those guys making plays. How much of it has been the opposing quarterback, and last week it was Jared Guarantano, the week before it was KJ Costello, just making terrible plays. And the truth is there's probably some of both. Neither Costello or Guarantano are great quarterbacks. Neither of those offenses is playing real well right now. But Kentucky's defense is playing very well this season, So, like I said, 9 interceptions. Missouri, this is the interesting part. Kentucky has 9 takeaways. They're all interceptions. Missouri had 5 fumbles last week. Didn't have an interception, but 5 fumbles. They didn't lose all 5, but they put the ball on the ground 5 times. Missouri basically lost the turnover battle 4-0 to Kentucky. To LSU. And they still won the football game. I am 99% certain if Missouri loses the turnover battle to Kentucky 4-0, Missouri's going to lose the football game. Kentucky's not a team that is going to give you enough chances to turn the ball over 4 times without a takeaway and come back and win. And that takeaway is also an issue for Missouri on the other side of the football. The defense had a huge goal line stand against LSU. Big reason they won that game, obviously. But Missouri's defense isn't making game-changing plays right now. They're not taking the ball away. There aren't a lot of negative plays. And that's something that needs to change, especially against a team that likes to run the ball as much as Kentucky does. You're going to need some negative plays. You're going to need some impact plays that change field position, that stop drives, that do things like that. Just letting the team go most of the way down the field and then kind of buckling down at the end. Maybe it works, but that also could lead to Kentucky holding the ball for 38 minutes and kicking 8 field goals. T. Rise says Knox played really well last week. No reason he wouldn't start. The question is, do you give him more time on the outside or does he move back to the slot for the whole game? Yeah, the wide receiver stuff is going to be interesting to watch. No question about it. If it's me, I start Booth Smith, Towski Dove, and Jalen Knox. Who's in the slot, who's on the outside, whatever. I don't really care. I guess Smith is probably a slot guy, but he's really fast. Maybe he's an outside guy and you put Knox in the slot. I don't know. Do whatever you want. Those are the guys I'd start. I think they earned it last week. And then you've got Bannister. He's going to play. I think Hazelton and Chisholm are going to get some time on the field, but I think the snaps are going to be reduced. I would be very surprised if they aren't. I would think maybe you split snaps kind of 50-50 in the first half, and whoever's playing well, whoever makes plays, whoever holds on to the football gets those snaps in the second half. Jackson wants to know, and we were just talking about it, do you think Missouri can force a few turnovers today? And why has Missouri stopped getting turnovers like they were getting with Pinkel at the helm? And like I said, coaches like to say those things can be coached, and they can to some extent. Eli Drinkwitz was talking about this week how you swarm to the ball and knock it out and all that. And it can be coached. But at the same time, sometimes quarterback throws the football right to you. Sometimes a guy fumbles the ball and it doesn't bounce your way, all that. So it's a 50-50 deal. Some of it is the defense, some of it's the offense, some of it's luck. So I guess it would technically be a 33-33-33 deal. But it's something that Missouri has to do. They've got to find ways to take the football away a little bit. They've also got to find ways not to give the football away on offense, certainly. So Justin wants the crowd to chant boo, and I think they were last week. And it will be tough on announcers who no longer can say they're not booing. They actually have to say they actually are booing. Real quick, Auburn leading Ole Miss 27-21. Ole Miss down at the 5-yard line, just went in. Ole Miss going to have an extra point to take the lead with 5.5 minutes left. And those are the two teams that actually beat Kentucky this year. I think Auburn was 29-13, 29-14, something like that. Ole Miss beat them 42-41, oddly enough, on a missed extra point. So those are two West teams that have beaten Kentucky. Kentucky's come back with wins the last 2 weeks. So be interesting to see which Kentucky team shows up, which Missouri team shows up. This is a weird season. Comparative results really don't mean anything. But look, for a little more on Kentucky, for a perspective from somebody who knows more about the Wildcats than I can tell you, I talked to our friend Jeff Drummond from the Kentucky Rival site. Want to let you guys listen into that for a little bit now. All right, Jeff Drummond covers Kentucky for Cats Illustrated. That is the Rival site that follows the Wildcats. And Jeff, appreciate you joining us, and I imagine you've got a bunch of people that are happier than they were maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, the mood has changed dramatically since that Ole Miss loss that left a lot of people scratching their heads and a little bit angry around here. And it was a weird time, because they entered this season with a lot of high hopes, and to get off to an 0-2 start wasn't what anybody had anticipated. Most people around here thought they were going to go win the Auburn game. They were very confident that they were the better team. They just didn't go, get the job done. But it's been a turnaround since then to do what they've done against Mississippi State and Tennessee back to back. People are kind of riding high again, and you don't hear as many people rumbling about basketball as you did a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kentucky's kind of emblematic of this entire league this year. The way I've said it, you've got Alabama, half step below them, you've got Georgia, and then take teams 3 through 13 and throw them in a hat. I mean, Kentucky plays Auburn 10 times, they probably split. A&M plays Tennessee 10 times, they might split too. I mean, I don't think any, and I don't know if it's because of COVID and the weird offseason or everybody's just even, but I think you can throw them all in a hat almost.
Yeah, I told somebody that earlier this week on radio, with the exception of maybe Vanderbilt, which I think they're still kind of outmanned. But even Vanderbilt played a tight game with A&M. So in this setup and these circumstances and a 10-game SEC schedule, I think every game is a war. Every week is a game you got to be really concerned about, unless you've got that, Alabama helmet with the number on it, or maybe Georgia in some cases.
What did Kentucky start this season thinking? I mean, 500 is a good year, or would that have been? Do they think they're better than that?
Well, the bar in the fans' eyes, the bar was set a lot higher. We had a lot of people, saying 7-3, even 8-2. They were expecting kind of this continuation of the climb that Kentucky's made, and to build upon that. But I was kind of hesitant to buy into a lot of that, and said, listen, in a 10-game SEC schedule, especially when they gave Kentucky the games that we got, and Kentucky really can't say much, because I think Mizzou probably got the toughest scenario out of the whole deal when they added the 2 games. But I told people they could be a much improved team this season and be 5-5. Mm-hmm. And that didn't sit well with a lot of people, because they want to see that continued growth and everything. But we're talking about Kentucky program dating back to 1976 has only broken 500 in league play like 2 or 3 times. Wow. In my lifetime. So to play 10 league games, 5-5, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, no question. I mean, Mark Stoops, I don't think anybody thinks he's done anything less than a fantastic job there. It was interesting. I read on your guys' site that if he wins this game, he's over 500 for the first time, which kind of indicates obviously what he took over. But I'm fascinated by Kentucky, because Stoops is, in this era where even Nick Saban is scoring 50 points a game now, Stoops just keeps winning in a way that nobody seems to play anymore. And there's no surprises really about Kentucky. You know what they're going to do, and somehow people can't stop it. What's made them so successful here? I guess probably really the last 3 or 4 years.
Maybe there's something to being a little bit different. There came a point where everybody went to this, spread and throw it all over the place. And then Kentucky, goes a little bit old school and smash mouth. It's kind of like maybe facing a wishbone team back when that would throw everybody off, regardless of how talented they were. But the big thing that he's done that's impressed me from the start, he came in here and said, we can win this way, we will win this way. And for years, people around Kentucky, even those of us in the media, said, you cannot play the way Alabama and LSU and Georgia play and win in this conference. Kentucky's got to have a gimmick. We've got to have Hal Mummy, the air raid, because they simply can't get the personnel to play that way. But Stoops came in and just shattered all of that. He said, we're going to recruit to it. We're going to develop guys. And it's been impressive to watch them go up against some of the league's perennial powers and just bully them at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I ran some numbers on our side. To me, you've got Florida and Georgia in this division, which if they've got things going, look, they can just get more talent than anybody else in the East can. So really, to be a successful program, if you're one of those other teams, what you have to do is, and Vandy's probably at the bottom, but those 4 in the middle, you have to be better than those other 3. And Kentucky has a better overall record, a better SEC record, and is 10-5 against those 3 in the last 5 years. That's why they're where they are. And say Missouri's down at number 6. The margin isn't very big, but I look back over these last 5 years. I think Kentucky sticks in Missouri fans' craw more than any other program, simply because haven't beaten them since 2014, which at this point seems like it was 26 years ago. But it's not like last year was obviously that was a beating. Missouri didn't even show up. Kentucky destroyed them. But other than that, they've been really competitive games, but Kentucky's always found a way. So have Kentucky fans reached the point where they look at this one and go, yeah, I don't know how, but we're going to win this game just because we always win this game?
Yeah, it kind of has that vibe to it. And I think there's a certain amount of danger for Kentucky going into this one, because I sense that Missouri is highly motivated to win this one. And that margin of error has been small in most of the games between these teams. They played some really exciting matchups where it just came down to a play or two. But it's kind of like, to explain it more recently, Kentucky has been better than Tennessee for about 4 years. Mm-hmm. They found every way imaginable to lose that game. And I think Missouri can probably relate to that a little bit in this matchup. They just, not that I don't know if Missouri views themselves as better than Kentucky, but at least probably as equals, right, and just kind of finding a way to make the mistake at the wrong time. And that's what Kentucky's done with Tennessee. That's what Kentucky used to do with South Carolina. they've kind of turned that thing around for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those weird deals where the teams and the overall talent is probably very close. There should never really be, I don't think, a 4 or 5 year run where one of these schools beats the other one.
So you bring up Tennessee, and look, I'm not shocked Kentucky beat Tennessee, but I turned that game on and that looked like Kentucky was playing an FCS team. I mean, how surprised were you just in the way they did it?
Well, it's always surprising to see Kentucky do that against one of the quote unquote name schools, of the perennial powers in the SEC. But that's kind of, we've seen it now long enough, especially with their offensive line. They pride themselves as the best in the country. And they went down there with a chip on their shoulder and angry. They get asked constantly by our media up here, you haven't won there since 1984. All the jokes about the Reagan administration and parachute pants and Madonna had the #1 single. They hear this stuff all the time, and they went down there just really angry. And the most impressive thing about it was in the second half, they broke Tennessee's will. They got up, 24-7. That's in today's college football, in I think late third quarter maybe. That's not a huge lead. We've seen leads like that vanish in a heartbeat. But Tennessee was shell shocked. They were handing the ball off. They did not want to play anymore. And to see Kentucky do that, I don't know if I ever believed I would live long enough to see them do that to Tennessee, who usually prides themselves as being one of the bigger, tougher, stronger teams in the conference.
Yeah, the skeptics, and look, I'm seeing a lot of this from Missouri fans, because anytime you play a team, you're looking for the holes. The skeptics on Kentucky right now are saying it's simply not sustainable to get 4 interceptions a game and 2 pick sixes and all that. Turnovers certainly are not all luck, but there is a little bit of an element of luck in some of them. I mean, how much of what you think Kentucky's done the last couple of weeks has been really good defense disguising things, and how much has been simply bad quarterback play by the opposition?
Most of them have been plays. That we haven't seen a lot of like tip balls and the bad luck stuff that you typically see on interceptions. Now you can question whether the quarterback should have gone somewhere with the ball. And Tennessee's guys, they just made one bad decision after another. But Kentucky would like to think that they have something to do with that, with the pressure they can create up front, and if the guys are doing the right thing on the back end. But yeah, I'm curious to see what a game looks like, and it may very well be this weekend when maybe they don't get a turnover, or maybe just one. What can Terry Wilson and that offense do in the passing game to give them a chance to still win the game?
And that's what I wonder. And I don't know if you guys know the answer or not. If Kentucky's put in a situation, and I don't know if Missouri's good enough to do it, but put in a situation where they've got to throw the football to beat a decent team, do you think they're equipped to do that this year?
Is that Kentucky?
Yeah. Do you think Kentucky's equipped, if they're put in a position to have to go out and throw the football to win a game, do they have the pieces to do that?
Well, it remains unknown.
Yeah.
I think, we've seen Terry Wilson make plays in the past, but he's got a receiver core that's been really inconsistent. They haven't helped him at all. I think they've dropped 3 touchdown passes in the first 4 games between the receivers and the tight ends. They've botched routes, against Auburn. Kentucky's going down there and ready to score before halftime and really put their foot on Auburn, and had a wide receiver just ad lib and cost them an interception. So they've battled stuff like that all year. It's hard to say how much of it is Terry Wilson and how much of it is the surrounding cast. But he's got the good offensive line in front of him. He's got the running game to keep it balanced. So he should be making more plays in the passing game than he has so far.
Other side of the football, obviously Kentucky's defense has been really good there without Quentin Bohanna this week. How big a factor is that? I mean, how much do you think that hurts their defense?
It's pretty substantial. He's really good. And we're talking about, 350 pounds there in the middle of things, and an athlete who can cause problems, not just in the run game, but in the pass rush. And that's the part where I think they're wondering if they've got anybody else they can put in there and get kind of a consistent push in the, pressuring the quarterback without Quentin Bohanna. They've got some young guys they like, But fundamentally, those guys are really struggling right now with their technique and consistency.
Couple more minutes here with Jeff Drummond, and I guess every program handles this differently. So I don't know what Kentucky's been doing as far as kind of letting you guys know week to week, hey, we have guys out, we have guys in quarantine. Has COVID been an issue at all in Lexington so far?
Not since the preseason. The defensive backs had a little run of it leading up to the season, but it didn't really go too far beyond that position group. And since then, Stoops has really praised his team for kind of sacrificing and being probably even overly cautious, if there is such a thing, during this. But they're really happy with what they've done so far, and they don't have anybody that's going to be out of this game that I know of.
All right. Well, I'm not huge on putting people on the spot for predictions, especially in like this series. Nobody could have predicted some of the things that have happened the last few years, but just give me a quick, like, Kentucky wins if they do this, Missouri wins if they do this on Saturday.
Well, I think, as we touched on a little bit earlier, if Terry Wilson can make a couple of big plays in the passing game, I think Kentucky probably should win this game. But if he doesn't, and we see some of the things that popped up in the first 2 weeks, I think it's a real dangerous game for Kentucky. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if this went either way.
Yep. All right. Well, Jeff, I appreciate it, man. Enjoy the game. Sorry we're not going to see you up here this year, but, I don't think any of us are doing much of that this season.
Yeah, doing the best we can.
All right, Jeff. Have a good one, man.
You too.
All right, Jeff Drummond, catsillustrated.com. That is the Kentucky site on the rivals.com network. Appreciate Jeff joining us. We always try to get you somebody from the opposition or maybe a kind of a national voice, somebody to hear from during the pregame show. So want to get to any of your guys' questions or comments here for a few minutes. Before we do that, I do want to once again thank Burger Smokehouse. Tell you to go visit them at smokehouse.com. They are the official Smokehouse of Mizzou Athletics, also of the PowerMizzou.com pregame show every week. Had some pulled pork earlier today. They've got ham, they've got bacon, they've got ribs, they've got brisket, got just about anything you want. You can celebrate a holiday. I don't know, maybe give out some bacon for Halloween. I don't know if people are allowed to trick or treat this year. You got Thanksgiving coming up. I'm sure you can do a little something with that. So check out Burger Smokehouse. Support them. Maybe even tell them, hey, I'm coming here because I heard about it on the Power Mizzou show. So appreciate you guys doing that. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Tell people what we're doing here. All that. So we got the business out of the way. Get to some of your thoughts and comments. I'm keeping an eye on Ole Miss Auburn right now. Ole Miss punting the ball back. Lead by 1. Punting the ball back to Auburn with 2.5 minutes left. Gus Malzahn trying to save his job, if not his life. Look, I don't really think Gus Malzahn will get fired or anything tomorrow, but weird things happen in that Auburn fan base. Looks like Auburn's going to start at the 20. Ed wants to know any thoughts on how much Sean Robinson is going to play. I think you might see some plays for him. You might see some things with him at wide receiver, all that. But I think with the way Connor Bazelak played, we're not going to do the give him a series at quarterback just to give him a series at quarterback. I could be wrong. And maybe if the offense isn't moving and they want a different look, maybe then you throw Robinson out there. Or maybe if you get in a 3rd and 1 situation and you want a quarterback draw or an option or something that you feel like maybe Robinson is a little better at doing than Bazelak, then maybe you do that. But I don't know how you pull Connor Bazelak out for a predestined series when the last time we saw him, he was 29 for 34 for 406 yards and 4 touchdowns. I think that guy earned the right to play every series in this game, assuming he's healthy and all that. Now, look, this Kentucky defense is a different beast than LSU or than some of the other ones Missouri has. Well, they're better than Tennessee. I don't know if they're better than Bama. I don't think they're as talented as Bama, but I think they're playing a little better than Bama, if that makes any sense. So it's one of the 2 best defenses Missouri has seen this season. I'm not sure it's the best. And do want to encourage you guys, questions, comments, whatever you've got, throw them up, and we'll definitely take those. We're going to hear from Ryan Walters in a few minutes. We're going to talk to Mitchell Forty here in about 25 minutes over at the stadium. Kickoff just about an hour away. But before we hear from Ryan Walters, so this is the interesting part to me. This is the matchup that I think is probably bigger in this game. Like Kentucky's defense against Missouri's offense, yes, obviously big factor, all that. It always is. You can't just get rid of half of the game and say it doesn't matter. But Kentucky's defense is good. I don't think Missouri's going to go out and score 30 points in this game. So the matchup to me is Missouri's defense against Kentucky's offense. And here's what I do if I'm Ryan Walters. I stick 8 guys in the box on every single play. And I tell Terry Wilson, look, you've got to make plays in the passing game to go beat us. Because Kentucky hasn't had to do that really to win a game yet, or at least they haven't done it. And then if Terry Wilson throws for 260 yards and 2 touchdowns and they beat you throwing the football, then so be it. That's how it goes. You can't stop everything. You know, I made the analogy yesterday. I was doing a radio interview. Teams that are facing the Chiefs this year are saying, we're dropping 7 guys in coverage, and we're going to make you commit to running the football to beat us. The Chiefs couldn't do that against the Raiders. They did it against the Bills. They did it against the Texans. If they can do that, if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to run for 160 yards, then you just say, so be it. At least you had to beat us with your weakness. You don't let Kentucky line up and run the ball for 300 yards. They're running for 206 a game right now, and they are throwing for, hang on, I've got the number here. They're running for 206, and they are throwing for 142. I mean, Missouri's throwing for 292. Now, that does include 406 against LSU. But basically, Missouri's passing game is twice as productive as Kentucky's passing game. Oh, my. Ole Miss just got burned for like a 70-yard touchdown. Now trails Auburn with a minute 12 to play. But Kentucky doesn't throw the ball well. And I don't know if it's fair to say they don't throw it well. They just don't throw it much. I would 100% force them to do it. And if they can do it, tip your cap and say, hey, you beat us again. If they can't, maybe you come out with a win. Should we even try to field a punt or just let them bounce? Yeah, I think you should try. I expect Steve Jarvis Ware back there. He hasn't fumbled any. Chris Abrams-Drain had a couple of problems. Barrett Bannister muffed one. So I would think Jarvis Ware is your guy back there, but it was he and Abrams-Drain listed as kind of an either-or situation. We'll see, but yeah, you can't just let him roll. And Max Duffy's a great punter. He does a lot of the rugby-style stuff, so it'll be interesting to see how Missouri does. But again, so we can get to Mitch at 2:25 when he calls in from the stadium. Want to play the Ryan Walters interview as we do every week. We talk to Walters about, some about LSU, which is now a long time ago, but that's what some of the questions were, and some about leading into Kentucky. So here is Mizzou's defensive coordinator.
Yeah, you kind of alluded to this a little bit, but what can you say about Bledsoe's performance, not just on the last play, but kind of guarding Marshall, from the slot a lot of the game?
Yeah, just, he's gotten so much more detailed than a year ago, just in his pre-snap alignment and his depth and his footwork. He's really became a technician in the slot there, and he's a bigger guy. So if he gets his hands on you, typically slot receivers are smaller. Obviously, that was not the case against LSU when they put Marshall in there. But just his ability to get hands on and be able to run with slot receivers, and he's covered a whole gamut of really good ones throughout his time here. But that's kind of what makes him special at that size, to be able to do that.
Max Baker from Columbia, Missouri. Go ahead, Max.
Hey, Coach. Going back to that LSU game, I know after the review there was that you met with the team in the huddle, and for that 4th down stop, were you for those 4 plays? Did you guys have like a set, designed in that huddle? Is that kind of the reason you guys didn't call timeout, or what did you sort of say in that huddle?
Yeah, so I'll just kind of take you through the whole deal. So after they caught the ball and got to the 1, just going back and film study on this season and last year, and when they were in that scenario, offensively, if they were in 11 personnel, I kind of knew what set they'd be in, and if there were run plays, I knew what series of run plays that we would get. So as long as they stayed in 11 personnel, I felt comfortable with the call that we had, and we just ran the same call 4 downs in a row because they didn't change personnel. The one new play that I saw was the 3rd down play where Nick made a good play and batted the ball down. That was just him being a headsy player. They had picked Bledsoe on that one. and had outflanked us to the flat. Luckily, we had Nick coming off the edge, and he was able to get his hands up and get his hands on the ball. And then the pass play, you figured, we'd have a sprint out or something to the quarterback's throwing hand. So we had people coming off the edge to try to force the issue. Led's he's an experienced player. He's guarding inside leverage, obviously, when you're bringing the house. But, just feeling the rollout to his side, he put his foot in the ground and was able to get downhill. That was important, was to get downhill down there to cut off that the horizontal relationship between, the defender and the receiver. And he was able to get his hands on the ball. I thought he had a chance to intercept it after watching the tape. But glad he knocked it down, and that was kind of the sequence. So, Drink and I were on the headset, and he asked, if I wanted to take a timeout. After seeing the formation, everything, I was like, no, we're perfect. And, with the clock running down, that forced them to make decisions. You know what I'm saying? And I thought, if we would have took a timeout, that would have given them time to regroup and really get the play that they wanted to run in there. So kudos to Drink for having the feel of that as well, and allowing us to be comfortable with what we had called for 4 downs on the 1 yard line. That was a good exclamation point on that game, and we feel really happy for the kids, really happy for Coach Drink and his first victory here at Perot. That's probably the biggest win I've had in my career here, for sure.
Thank you.
Gabe DeArmond, Power Mizzou, you're up next.
Yeah, Ryan, if we can kind of turn attention to this week, there's no secret to what Kentucky's going to do. Everybody knows what they want to do, and they still manage to do it. How? What makes them so good at it, even though you kind of know what's coming?
It's if they get up in games, it's hard to climb back, just because of the style of offense that they run and really the style of the defense they run. They complement each other well on both sides of the ball. They want to limit possessions in the game. I think last week they had like 50-some snaps, or the previous week had 50-some snaps. That's the kind of game they want to play. They'll get to the line quickly to force you to line up and show them what you're in, and then they'll sort of pause and get the correct play in and bleed the clock a little bit. Obviously, they want to run the ball. They got plenty of capable backs to do so. And the quarterback, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and he's athletic and can get out on the edge and the perimeter. And so they force you to play with all 11, and they do a good job on the outside when they do have opportunities to go make plays. And so that's what's difficult is they make you be right all the way down the field if they get a drive started. And so we got to do a good job of getting turnovers. We haven't done a good job of that in the first 3 games. Trying to get the ball out, and it's got to be being physical in the run game, because we're probably not going to have a whole lot of opportunities for interceptions in the air. This is not their MO. I got a ton of respect for Coach Grant. He does a great job of catering to his roster and changing up what he does year to year based on who he's got available. Obviously, you saw what they did last year with the quarterback getting hurt early, and so that's why it's difficult, just because you've got to be right in your run fits, because you got to play with all 11, and so if somebody's not right, you got a chance for an explosive play on the ground, and when you've got those type of plays, they can be catastrophic to your defensive plan.
Peter Ball from The Athletic. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, Ryan, I was wondering, what specific things do you think you're kind of as a unit you have to do to have the success you had against LSU against the run, rather than, I guess, what happened against Tennessee the week before?
Yeah, just being aggressive, and that's myself included. Just being aggressive in the play call, being aggressive on the field. Getting downhill, and being a good tackling team. I thought we did a much better job in the LSU game. Just getting ourselves prepared pre-snap. Lining up, eyes in the right spot, and not getting shaken by anything. And when we get to third down, we got to get off the field. I thought that was one of the keys last week. defensively was our success on third down. So when you're not getting turnovers, you've got to get off the field on third down. Otherwise, there's too many possessions, too much time for the offense. So that'll be the key this week is being aggressive, having all eyes and all things focused on the run game. And if they get a play, they get a play. It's got to move on to the next one and focus in and play that snap.
Mitch 40, Power Mizzou. Go ahead, Mitch.
Ryan, I know you all were a little bit shorthanded on the defensive line against LSU. Had to shuffle some guys around. A couple questions for you. One, do you expect Akil Byers back this week? And two, did guys maybe surprise you with how they played in those roles? And could we see some more of that kind of moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, everybody surprised me just those guys played hard. And like I said, we gave up too many explosives last week, but nobody was shook, man. Even after they caught the ball and got to the one, in the huddle, everybody was fine. Coach, we got it. We won the game. I think the poise piece is what was the most surprising. Just because we haven't had that kind of poise in the past. It's a testament to the culture here and also the experience that we have up front, specifically on the D line and at a couple spots in the secondary. Guys being through those scenarios before and realizing what it takes to be successful on the next play. Those are things that surprise me. As far as Akil goes, he's back. He's practices tail off Tuesday, Wednesday. So I'm excited that he's back in the lineup and ready to go.
Dave Banner from Post Dispatch. Go ahead, Dave.
Ryan, just the style this week, just how dramatic of a shift is it when you're used to games like LSU or Alabama where you're chasing receivers downfield 40 times a game? Is it a big adjustment to go back to this kind of style?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different, especially for the guys out on the perimeter. They just they can't fall asleep out there. You know what I mean? If they do, then that's another explosive. You know what I mean? So they gotta be dialed in and to their assignments and play with great technique. But yeah, it's going to be a different game, and we've been preaching that, since we found out we were playing Kentucky. And to our guys' credit, they've had really good practices and are excited for the challenge. Obviously, their history playing this team, our seniors that have been here playing Kentucky. Everybody, it's not a secret. It's the elephant in the room. And so, our guys are excited to go play. It feels like it's been a long time since we played, especially coming off of the highs of the way that last game ended. So our guys are excited to go play.
Soichi Terada, Kansas City Star.
Hey, Ryan, another D-line question for you. I guess, what was it like just shuffling around everyone? And I see Trey's at that DN spot, which is, I know it's kind of similar to the Bucs spot you said, but it's not all the same. I guess, how much consideration do you just put in like specific guys at specific spots and everything?
I mean, you just evaluate the roster. Obviously, Coach Haley and I have had a lot of discussions about what gives us the best chance to be successful. And to those guys up front's credit, a lot of different guys have had to play different spots, and everybody's been, done it with gratitude and selflessness. This is an unselfish team. And, Trey, the first conversation I had was like, man, look, I know you love playing Buck, but we probably got to put you at end. And that also has a chance to get you and Trajan on the field at the same time. And I feel like that gives us a good mix up front. And he was, Coach, I'll do whatever we got to do. And he has. His practice his tail off. He played very well. And then with him and Trajan all on the field, and we actually put them in a 4-down front and try to go get after the quarterback. They put pressure on those tackles. So, those guys, to their credit, have been flexible. You have to be flexible this year, in particular, and those guys have adapted very well.
Jack Snowball from the Man Eater. Go ahead, Jack.
Hey, Coach. There seemed to be a lot of plays in the LSU game, especially in that first half, when the pass rush got pressure, but Brennan was able to extend the play just enough to find Marshall or Gilbert. Has finishing those plays been a point of emphasis for the pass rush this week?
Yeah, but it's not to me that it's not on the pass rush. That's on the coverage aspect of it. We got to do a better job of giving them time. I mean, those guys are getting back there pretty quick. And like I said, a couple of those plays, we got caught disguising too long. That's why it was they were able to get out and get behind us. And anytime you got a guy that's as talented or as fast as a Marshall, it don't take very long for him to get downfield and the quarterback to get the ball out. So, I didn't feel like it was on the guys up front at all. I thought it was on a couple of our secondary disguises and looks, trying to be too deceptive in terms of sacrificing the look to do your assignment. So we got that corrected, and hopefully we'll give those guys more time.
And looks like we'll finish up with Paul O'Brien from the Jeff City News. Go ahead, Paul.
Hey, Ryan, I know an issue for you guys in the run game against Tennessee was just getting into the backfield and hitting the guy before he even got to the line of scrimmage. Whether you're facing man or zone blocking schemes, what can you do to get into the backfield and make some pressure and make that running back make a cut before he gets to the line?
Just changing it up, what you're doing up front. Even if your shell is the same, just change it up so that the offense line isn't comfortable in knowing exactly what you're going to do. So that was one of the things we did against LSU is, just kind of change up techniques and stunts and, called more pressures and on rundowns. I think that was the difference in the two games.
All right, that is Mizzou defensive coordinator Ryan Walters. Kentucky, not a great offensive team. I mean, they don't put up big numbers. They're averaging – it's interesting. They're averaging more points than Missouri this year. They're averaging 28 points a game, Missouri 25.3. But 21 of those points in the last 2 weeks are from the Kentucky defense. So, those offensive numbers look a little bit inflated. But, again, Kentucky runs for 206 and throws for just 142 per game. Defensively, though, they give up just 106 on the ground, 235 through the air, 341 total. That's almost 100 yards fewer than Missouri has given up per game. Missouri giving up 38 points a game. Kentucky giving up only 20. That includes 7 last week against a Tennessee team that, like you heard in the Jeff Drummond interview, honestly almost looked to quit at times last week. Kentucky just kind of broke their will. And then the week before that, Mississippi State scored 2. Now, look, the Mississippi State offense isn't exactly rolling, but that's the same team that hung 44 on LSU in week 1. So that's probably the comparative game I look at the most. LSU hung 44, Mississippi State scored 44 on LSU. 2 weeks later, they scored 2 on Kentucky. Missouri scored 45 on LSU. They play Kentucky 2 weeks later. Now, I expect Missouri to score more than 2, but the question I think a lot of us have going into this game, how good is LSU? Or maybe more appropriately, how bad is LSU, especially on defense? And I think we might find that out a little bit today. I mean, look, we've got a 3-game sample size, and the most recent one makes you feel really good about Missouri, right? Put up 44 points. Bazelak was great. Walk-on wide receivers were great, all that. The first 2, neither of those games were very good on either side of the football, to be quite honest with you, offense or defense. And I've seen a lot of people say, well, if Connor Bazelak would have started the Tennessee game, it would have been different. Look, he played all but 2 series. He played quarterback most of that day. And Missouri did very little. And then the one drive they actually put together, they threw an interception. So, we'll see. My point is we've got 3-game sample size. 2 of them are bad so far. So what's today going to be like? Stryker brings up a good point. Quentin Bohanna out for Kentucky. He's a defensive tackle, heck of a player. I don't get too fooled and fall in love too much with what Connor Bazelak did against LSU. Again, not that I don't think he's a good quarterback. I think he can be. I think this passing game can do well, all that. But I try to run the football if I'm Missouri. I try to give it to Larry Roundtree, Tyler Beatty, all that. Mitchell Forty calling in right now, I believe from Faroe Field. Mitch, can you hear us, man?
I can. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, at least I can. I can't speak for anybody else, but I can hear you. So,
well, that's all that really matters.
Right, yeah. Otherwise, they'll just think I'm talking to myself. All right, so first thing first, we kind of check in with every week when you're over at the stadium. I mean, is there anything that's been given out as far as injury news or anything you've been able to pick up by kind of looking down on the field?
Yeah, nothing's been given out. The whole team just came out of the locker room in their uniforms. I've not quite checked off everyone, but if there's someone important missing, I haven't noticed yet. I've certainly seen, all the quarterbacks, the skill position players. I've seen all the starters on defense. So I haven't gotten quite a chance to go through all the offensive linemen, but it doesn't look like anyone of note is out other than Kobe Whiteside and Darius Robinson and the guys who are out for the year with injuries, which we knew about coming in.
Are they at the point yet where, they're going through walkthroughs and you can kind of have been able to pick out anything like, hey, who looks like they're playing with the first team at receiver or anything like that?
No, not yet. I'll definitely keep an eye on that and put that on the live updates thread in the message board once they do the walkthroughs.
Hey, I was kind of talking earlier. I mean, it's obvious from the depth chart that those guys who played against LSU are going to play more than they did in the first 2 weeks. I think it could be like a 50-50 type situation. Boo Smith, Towski Dove, those guys earn more snaps, but it's not like Hazelton and Chisholm are just going to disappear.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. I think I wouldn't be surprised if those guys who played well in the LSU game, get on the field for the first drive and maybe it's kind of a 50-50 split of reps for, the first half and then kind of ride who's playing the best in the second half. But yeah, I agree. I think you'll see a lot of different bodies at wide receiver, especially in the first half, which is a change from the first couple of weeks, especially that Tennessee game. I think there was, Chisholm and Hazelton took just about every snap.
Yeah. So we were just talking before this, and some of the comments brought up a good point. I don't want to fall too much in love with what happened in the LSU game, especially with Quinton Bohanna out for Kentucky. I still think Missouri's best approach is to hand the ball to Larry Roundtree and Tyler Beatty a whole bunch. I mean, I think as much as anything we find out this week, just how bad is LSU on defense? Like, this game could give us a little bit of an indication to put into perspective what we saw 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I mean, yeah, this offense is really built to run the ball first and foremost. It's at its best when you can get Larry Roundtree and Tyler Beatty going and gain yardage on first and second downs and then have Connor Bazelak not try to do too much on third downs. I think if for some reason Connor Bazelak is able to replicate what he did against LSU, that would be a huge time that you would say, okay, like, this kid's legit. Now, I'm not saying he could have a bad game and still obviously be a very good college quarterback, but Kentucky's defense, and especially its secondary, is a lot better than LSU's. Obviously 9 picks across the past 2 games. So this will be kind of a more representative test, I think, to see what Connor Bazelak can do in this offense as a whole.
You think this is the second best defense Missouri's faced? Because I know what the stats say. I can't say this is a better defense than Alabama yet.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, Alabama's given up some yards, but I trust Alabama's defense more to make the plays when it needs to, and we saw it more or less shut Missouri down the first quarter of that game, really first half. I wouldn't quite put this Kentucky defense up there with Alabama's, but it's good. I mean, missing Quinton Bohanna will hurt them. Tennessee was able to run the ball against that front after he went out last week. So I think I think it has its flaws, but I think this secondary is probably close to as good as Alabama's, and that'll really test Connor Bazelak.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if Missouri can get open. One of the things I think would help. We haven't seen Missouri get much from the tight end position outside of the fourth down catch in the one game by Logan Christopherson. I mean, the tight ends really haven't done a whole lot else.
No, they haven't. It was actually interesting. Mike Kelly asked Eli Drinkwitz about that on Tiger Talk, as his radio show on Thursday night, and it's not like he's out going gushing about all the other players on the show, but he wasn't like super praising of the tight end group. He basically said like, yeah, we've got 3 guys who rotate in there, and Matthias Swenson helps out on special teams, and that was about it. Like, I think he would like to see a little bit more production from that group as well. Daniel Parker Jr. is not like a burner who's going to, be like a mismatch in coverage for anyone, but I think everyone would have expected a little bit more production from him this season with Alberto gone. So we'll see if maybe that comes today, especially if these wide receivers are not able to get as wide open as they were against LSU.
Yeah, kickoff about 35 minutes away. Mitchell Forty is over at the stadium. Spend a few more minutes with him and then let him go get set for the game. But one of the other things we were talking about, obviously, punt returner's been a problem. Any idea just by kind of seeing what's happening out there? I mean, I said I expect Jarvis Ware to probably get the first call because he's the only guy that's been back there and hasn't fumbled one. But have you been able to see anything that way?
No, they put a bunch of guys, back there during the pregame warm-ups. I didn't see Barrett Bannister fielding any. I saw, Ware was fielding some. Ishverdine actually fielded a few. Chris Abrams-Drain fielded some. Boo Smith fielded some. There might have been 1 or 2 other guys. They rotated a few guys back there. So, just during these warm-ups. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Ware or Cade Musser was the other one. He's the walk-on who actually fielded punts a little bit last year when Rashad Floyd was hurt.
And
so
I'm pretty sure never dropped one.
He's at least – what's that?
I'm pretty sure he never dropped one last year.
Yeah, I don't think so. So he's at least done it before. So I would not be surprised if he gets a chance to do it either. But that is absolutely an area that people we will watch with bated breath because that has been an issue.
Yeah. So for fans that obviously aren't at the game, which are most of them at this point, I mean, what's it like over at the stadium weather-wise? People coming in and what? It's still about 12,000 this week, right?
Yeah, it should be about the same, 11,000 or so people. People are starting to sort of trickle in. It's chilly, but it's kind of I would describe it as football weather, crisp, 40s, partly sunny, not too much wind or anything like that. So I think I don't think weather's playing a big factor. I think we'll certainly see the full 11,700 or however many are allowed in will make their way in here.
Was it the Kentucky game last year that was like in a complete downpour by the end of it?
Yes.
And Missouri was getting beat 29-7, and it was like the most depressing night ever.
Yeah, it was in Lexington, and it was raining incredibly hard. It was brutal. This is much better than that.
Yeah, I think I had quit paying attention to that game by that point because Missouri, frankly, had quit playing long before that. So, all right, well, Mitch, appreciate the time, man. Just kind of a closing thought. Missouri wins this game if it does what?
I think the biggest key for Missouri is it's got to stop the run. We saw it really struggle to do that against Tennessee and really succeed in doing that against LSU. So if it's kind of a toss-up in my mind which run defense shows up. I think you absolutely have to stop the run, and obviously you got to take care of the ball. You can't throw up 3 interceptions like Tennessee did and expect to beat Kentucky. So those are the 2 big keys to if Missouri does those 2 things, it at least has a shot at the end.
Yeah, and I approached this the same way I approached the Kentucky game, the Tennessee game. This needs to be a game in the fourth quarter, and then you take your chances and whatever happens. But you'd feel bad coming out of the LSU game if this one it goes like Kentucky-Tennessee did last week.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, appreciate it. Everybody will be following along on the boards, and we'll catch up after the game.
Sounds great.
All right, Mitchell Forty live from Faurot Field. We try to check in with him just because, because he's there. Like, we might as well I pay him. We might as well make that worth something, right? But also, you can see some things over at the stadium that maybe you can't see. Obviously, we can't see anything right now, and I do know on SEC Network right now is a shot of Connor Bazelak, so we know he's there and all that. But as Mitch said, it appears everyone is there. He didn't see any. We know Kobe Whiteside's out. We know Darius Robinson is out. So, but other than that, Mitch said he didn't find anybody who it appeared to him was out of the game. So, or was it? I'm sorry, not in warmups. We are the ESPN or the SEC Network clock was just showing 31 minutes, I think, to kick off. So we're going to take you up for the next 10 to 15 minutes And then I'm going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back here with On the Call, presented by Colin Gentry. That's our live game watch-along where we just kind of hang out, comments, talk during the game, some thoughts, some analysis, all that of how things unfold. I predicted this game 23-20 Kentucky in our prediction that went up yesterday. So what I want to do, first of all, you guys, hey, put in the comments your predictions for the score, why you think it's going to go that way, whatever you want. We'll kind of roll those up on the screen through these last 8 to 10 minutes while we're here. I'll tell you why I picked it the way I did. And there's not much science to it. There never is. Look, they're guesses, man, right? We don't know. If we knew, we'd have penthouses in Vegas, and we'd all be much happier than we are. They're all guesses. But I don't know if I think Kentucky's a better team than Missouri. I don't even know if I think Kentucky's necessarily going to win this game. It won't surprise me if Missouri beats Kentucky today and ends this 5-game losing streak. But Missouri has earned the distinction of we should be picked to lose to Kentucky. That's basically what that pick is. That's a pick based on the last 5 years because Missouri has found a way every year to lose to Kentucky for the last 5. Again, we'll just run through them. 2015, 21-14, Matty Mock's last start. Missouri couldn't score. Missouri couldn't score against anybody that whole year. Matty Mock got suspended the next day. Never would play again for Missouri. 2016 was when Benny Snell and Boom Williams came in here, ran for a combined 340 yards. Kentucky won 35-21. Frankly, it just wasn't very close. It was 35-21, but it didn't even feel that close that day. 2017 was 40-34 down in Lexington. Missouri was driving for what could have been a go-ahead score. Jamon Moore made a catch inside the 20-yard line. The officials just kind of dicked around with the ball for 13 seconds. The SEC later came out and said, yeah, they screwed up and cost Missouri 13 seconds. But it didn't much matter. It was kind of like the Bo Nix fumble that wasn't a fumble earlier this year. They're like, yeah, sorry, we screwed that one up. I don't know what to tell you. Doesn't change anything. And again, maybe Missouri doesn't win that game. Maybe they don't make that play. But what I wrote immediately after that game was Missouri got robbed of a chance to win that game. 2018 is the one everybody remembers. 15-14 Kentucky. Missouri had a 14-0 lead with like 6 minutes left. Kentucky had done nothing all day. All of a sudden, Missouri goes prevent defense. They throw the ball on 3rd and 2. A bad pass interference call gives up an untimed down at the end. And, it was complete. Everything that could have gone wrong in the last 6.5 minutes went wrong. It was one of the most devastating losses I've ever seen out of Missouri football. And there have been some. But as far as painful, I mean, that's one people are going to talk about years from now still is one of the worst. And then last year, just Missouri had quit, quite honestly. If they hadn't quit at the beginning of the game, they quit about midway through the game, and Kentucky won at 29-7. I think it's very easy to argue Kentucky's the reason Barry Odom isn't here and Eli Drinkwitz is. Kentucky passed Missouri as a program in the last 4 years. 2 of those games were games that you can argue the officials cost Missouri a chance to win, but and look, I know I like to steal a line from Sam Mellinger. He says crying about officiating is the ballad of the loser. And the 2018 game, yes, Kentucky got a play it should not have gotten, right? That's you change that one call and Missouri wins the game. So yes, the refs cost Missouri the game. I will also listen to people that say all Missouri would needed was 1 first down at some point in the second half, and it never comes down to that. Or don't line up 9 guys on the goal line and let Kentucky throw a 27-yard pass or whatever it was on the second to last play of the game. So even with that awful call, Missouri still could have won the game. So it's very rarely one thing. But the point is, Missouri changed coaches after last year, mostly because of this team they're playing today. Playing in 25 minutes. The Kentucky Wildcats, and Vanderbilt certainly had a lot to do with it last year. Wyoming had a little bit to do with it last year. But more than any other program, it was Kentucky. 5-0 against Missouri in the last 5 years. 4 of those under Barry Odom. More than anything, Kentucky is the reason that Barry Odom's at Arkansas and Eli Drinkwitz is at Missouri. And we're going to see if Eli Drinkwitz is the guy to get this thing turned around and get it turned around in year one. You guys are very confident. Every pick has been for Missouri. That doesn't surprise me. Look, it's a swing game. I don't blame anybody that thinks Missouri's going to win this game. It's a logical, reasonable point of view. I think Missouri might win this game. It's just, in my position, it's tough to pick. When you've seen all 5 of those games, it's tough to pick Missouri to end this thing until Missouri actually ends this thing. So it is 2:37. We're going to take you up here till, like I said, right about 2:40. And then I'm going to take a quick break to get things set up for the game watch along. I hope all you guys will be back for that. Basically what we do, if you haven't watched, we can't broadcast the game. We can't have the audio up. I have the game on a separate screen over here to my right. I watch it. You guys are obviously all watching, whether you're watching with the audio there, whether you mute the announcers, whatever it is. But we just take your comments. We talk about the game. We talk about what's happening throughout. We take a quick break usually at halftime. We keep you up to date with other SEC scores. I throw some stats up after every quarter. We keep you updated with scoring plays, all kinds of things like that. So hopefully you guys will come back here for that and join us right at 3 o'clock as Missouri and Kentucky. The countdown clock is at 24 minutes right now. So I'll probably actually be back on here a couple minutes before 3, just so we make sure we don't miss the actual game. But hopefully you guys will be back. But if not, hey, I appreciate you joining us here, and I hope you'll come back for the post-game show. When the game is over, I'll jump off. I'll get on Eli Drinkwitz's Zoom call. I'll record that. I'll immediately jump back on the post-game show. It's generally 30 to 40 minutes after the clock goes to 0. That we're able to get the countdown show started, or I'm sorry, the post-game show started. So, be ready. Half an hour or so after the game ends, we'll be back with the post-game show. Want to thank Burger Smokehouse for being the sponsor of the pregame show, as they are each and every week. Once again, just go to smokehouse.com. Really just go to the damn grocery store. Their stuff is sold all over the state of Missouri. It's tough to miss, man. I'm actually going to go down and probably get some sausage real quick, sausage and crackers between this and the start of the game. Just have a little snack from Burgers. And so appreciate them doing this. Appreciate all you guys being here. Appreciate Bob Douglas showing up. Bob, we did hear from Mitchell. We just talked to him for 15 minutes. He's doing well. He's at the game. He is alive. Glad you're checking in on him. Thanks for coming in. Before you guys log off here, before we shut this down, hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel. That'll let you set up notifications for when the broadcasts start. We do the 573 report every Wednesday. Every Saturday, we're on here for 7 to 8 hours, starting with the pregame show, game watch along, postgame show. We'll have that all day long. A lot of the names are names we've seen every week, and appreciate that, and I hope you guys stick around for the game watch along. Have enjoyed getting to kind of hang out with you guys and see some of your comments throughout the games. So I hope you'll do that. Understand some people have different plans and do different things during the games. But yeah, we are right about at 20 minutes to kickoff. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to log off here. I'm going to end this broadcast, and I'm going to take about a 15-minute break, get everything set up, and listen to Tyler. Like and subscribe. You've got about 30 seconds before I end this broadcast, but I'll get everything set up for the game watch along. We will be back just a couple minutes before 3 o'clock on that. We'll take your comments all day long. Mizzou and Kentucky getting set from Faroe. Again, follow along with Mitchell on the site. He's going to have the updates on the message boards, all that. There will be a game thread. Everything that you've always done that way, you can do that, but you can also do this. You can probably do them both at the same time. I assume you guys are talented enough to walk and chew gum at the same time. So appreciate you joining me here. And again, we will be back in 15 minutes. Missouri and Kentucky kicking off right at 3.